talk about today is something that I have thought of for a long time, and I've kind of developed this kind of method around it, but I was never able to articulate it properly. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to put the words together to get it across properly. And then I listened to this video by a woman named Layla Hermosi. She's a mentor of mine in the entrepreneurial space. But she said it exactly how I was feeling. So now that I can articulate it, I want to share it with you ladies, okay? And for the sake of this call, I'm going to call it the problem puzzle, okay? The problem puzzle is what I want to talk to you about today. Now, the problem puzzle goes like this, okay? Whenever there is a problem, we look for a solution, right? So whether there is a problem in our marriage, our job, you know, our health, our weight, we look for a solution, right? And why do we look for a solution? Because there are a lot of problems we're dealing with that we're not happy with, right? If we are overweight, we don't fit into our clothes, that's a problem, right? We have low self-confidence, that's a problem. We don't eat properly, that's a problem, right? So anytime we have these problems, we look for a solution, which is awesome, right? I mean, that's a great response to have. But here's what happens. We have these set of problems. We look for a solution that's going to be all encompassing, right? We think there's one solution that's going to magically fix all of our problems, right? And so we find the solution. It sounds good. We're all on board. We're motivated about it. And then we put this solution into motion. And then somewhere down the line, whether immediately or later, it gets hard. It's still hard. There's discomfort. There's still pain, right? There's still these negative things. There's still these problems popping up. And so we think it was the wrong solution, or we look for another one, or we think there's something wrong, right? And that's a very common thought process. But here's what's causing it, okay? There is no such thing as a solution that will get rid of all of your problems. There's no such thing. And if you are looking for one, you will look for the rest of your life, thinking you find one, and then being disappointed again. So there's no such thing as a solution that gets rid of all problems, or that doesn't create new, better, or worse problems. Okay, so one of the two. Either way, there's no solution that can get rid of every single problem that you're hoping it to, okay? And here's what I found, okay? Instead of deciding on a solution, since there'll either be problems left over or new problems to deal with, instead of looking for a solution for whatever problems you're thinking of or dealing with, current problems or future problems you can foresee, instead of looking for a solution, ladies, and deciding on what solution is going to get rid of these problems, I want you to decide what group of problems you can handle. What group of problems can you live with? Now imagine if you do that. Not only would you have a complete perspective shift, not only would you be less stressed because of all these problems, right? You'd also look at problems differently because you chose them. So there's no room to be a victim, right? And because you've shifted your perspective, you choose these problems. So they are inherently something good, because if they were not, why would you choose them? Right? So choosing a group of problems is better than choosing a solution that you think is going to get rid of all the negative problems in your life. So an example, right? I would rather have, I choose the problem of struggling to find time to meal prep over the problem of what happens when you don't meal prep, right? I would choose to struggle to find time in my day, be stressed out, feeling overwhelmed, getting it half done. I choose dealing with that problem instead of saying, I'm not going to try it all, right? Being halfway through the week, rushing, being overwhelmed, ending up in a drive-thru, feeling crappy, low in energy, feeling bloated. There's still problems. You get to choose what problem, right? I would rather choose the problem of having no energy to work out at the end of the day. I would choose that problem. I would take the problem of having to figure out how to fit workouts in and how to deal with my energy instead of taking the problem of what happens when you don't exercise, becoming weak and frail. There's problems no matter what solution you choose. Is that becoming clear, ladies? There are going to be problems no matter what solution you choose. So instead of choosing the solution to fix the problems, find the problems that you're okay handling, that are much better in comparison, and then find the solution that will get you to those problems. Is that clear? It's a pretty cool way of looking at things. It really shifts it. I think it's very important to start thinking like this because it's going to completely shift how you view problems. Because every problem, especially if we're not in a good place, like we're overwhelmed or we're busy, every problem is an inconvenience. Every problem we think shouldn't be there. It's ruining things, getting in the way. And that is just not the case. If you catch yourself saying, oh man, I need to fix this, right? And you catch yourself saying, no, I chose this. Then you get the courage to deal with it instead of trying to move past it. Because oftentimes we aren't very good at fixing things. We really aren't, because we don't want to. It takes a lot of work. And it takes a lot of thinking to fix a problem. And it takes, guess what? A lot of trial and error, which we don't like to talk about. That's hard work, and we often don't do it. So even when we try to fix a problem, we're usually not doing it in the most productive, effective ways, right? So if we change our view to, I chose this problem, it is mine, this is a better alternative, I can accept it, I have power over it, and this is a side effect of my solution. And these are the problems that I can live with, right? So I want you right now, put your thinking cap on, think really, really hard. What have you, in regards to your health, what have you been complaining about lately? Either out loud to somebody, either to a coach, or just in your head. And you can put it in the comments if you want. You can just say it in your head. What have you been complaining about lately? What's the problem that's annoying you, frustrating you, keeping you stuck, slowing your progress? What's that problem? Now ask yourself, before I started my health journey, was that a problem? Or was it a different problem? Has the problem evolved? Has it shifted? Has it gone the opposite way? And it fixed a problem but created a new problem? What is the biggest problem in your life right now? And is it an okay problem to have? Right? Is it an okay problem to have? Would you choose that over something else? Would you choose that problem? What is the opposite of the problem you are having? Right? If you are struggling to eat healthy food, you're struggling to not be tempted. The opposite of that is giving into the foods and feeling like crap. The problem is how you'd feel after you gave in versus how you feel after you try, right? What's the problem you want? You cannot get rid of one problem without replacing it with a different kind of problem. Does that make sense, ladies? You can't get rid of a problem without replacing it with some other type of challenge or obstacle. And I think that's where we often find ourselves stuck and in our lowest points. You know, if only I could get rid of this, if only I could do this better, if only I could do that better. There's not a reality on earth that exists without problems, right? Problems are your choice. Life is just one problem after another, really. Life is just one problem after another that you have to figure out how to solve. And then eventually you get to a point in your life where you're happy with the problems that you have and you stop looking for solutions to get rid of problems. Instead, you look for solutions to change your problems, to find new problems, so that you can have problems that point new things out to you. If you're suffering from the same problem for a long time, this is what I would challenge you to do. I would say forget about it. Forget about it, move on, don't give it any attention for a while. Why? Because there's only two things that happen. Number one, you ignore it and nothing changes. You still have your problem, but guess what? It wasn't going to get fixed anyway. Now you just didn't waste energy on it. That's option number one. Or option number two, you've ignored it so much that it kind of fades into existence, and it proves to you that it wasn't as big of a problem as you thought it was because you gave it so much attention for so long. And often the case is the second one. We give things too much effort and energy and attention where we think that they are problems when they're really just facts of life. Listen to that again. Usually the biggest problems in our life are not problems. They are just facts of life that you gave too much energy and attention to, that you gave too much meaning to. Being tempted by junk food is not a problem. It is a fact of life in the 21st century. It is a fact of life, at least in North America in the 21st century. You're giving it too much attention, too much effort. It is a good problem to have. Why? Because the journey of becoming not as controlled by food, the journey of building a healthier relationship with food, of building up your willpower, that is a journey you want to go on. That is a good problem to have, because the opposite problem is diabetes and heart disease and cancers. That's the opposite problem, because there is no world, there is no journey without that problem. You understand what I'm saying? There's no solution that gets rid of that problem. There's not. There's no solution, which makes a bigger problem worse. And there's a solution where you can start to fight that problem, or accept that problem, or tame that problem, or replace that problem. We cannot erase something, but we can replace it, or we can change it. And I think that's what we forget a lot. And here's something really cool. This is one of my favorite quotes about problems. A problem well stated is already a problem half solved. How cool is that? A problem well stated is already a problem well solved, or half solved. How crazy is that? Just on how you state your problem in an email to your coach, into a question, into the community. Just how you state it, you can already give it half as less power and get 50% closer to a solution. How cool is that? I love that. Your words have power. Your perspective on the problem has power. You will not find a solution that doesn't either replace the problem, change the problem, or create new problems. So there will always be problems in your life, ladies. Stop trying to get rid of them. Instead, start choosing which group of problems are worth fighting for, are worth trying to fix for the sole purpose of the skills that it will teach you and the character traits that it will build in you along the way. Those are the problems that you want. Because think about the problems that you had before Fit Queen, right? These are problems that everybody suffers with to some degree. We all deal with feelings of depression, of feelings of having, being anxious, guilty, embarrassed, ashamed, worthless. These are all universal emotions we feel to some degree in some shape or form throughout our lives. Those are problems. They will come, they will go. But what gives you power is the ones that you choose. You can choose to stay in those emotions. You can choose to take on a new problem. You can find solutions that don't fix things, but give you a new set of problems. And what's really cool is if you've done this properly, your problems, very, very few people and women can say that they have the same problems. If the problems you have are very unique, very challenging, very time consuming, very growth oriented, if those are the problems that you have or we're trying to create here, Very, very few people can say that they have them. They have other trivial problems, problems that aren't problems, problems that won't get them anywhere, problems that keep them in the victim mindset, problems that they're not even interested in solving. People just like to have problems, to say that they have problems, to defend why they haven't changed. Can I get an amen? People want problems so that they have an excuse as to why they aren't where they want to be. Because actually getting there takes a lot of work, a lot of failure, a lot of wanting to give up, and you guessed it, a lot of problems. Why would we take on new, more challenging problems than the safe problems that keep us comfortable? Right? Doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. If you're listening to this, you are a fit queen. You're not normal. You don't think normal. You think different. You want more from yourself. You want to say that you have the problems that nobody else has because it's cool. Because it's how you reach your potential. It's how you make yourself proud. Like, unlock who you can be. You can't be listening right now saying you've reached your potential. Like, what are you capable of? Do you have any idea what you're capable of? How amazing you can be. How outstanding, how unique, how inspirational, how impactful you can be. That only happens if you change the problems you are dealing with. And you realize that you chose these problems. Anytime you feel down or stuck or woe is me or I don't want to do this anymore, just stop and realize you chose this. The alternative is an unhappy life and a faster death. If we take every trivial problem and strip it down, that is where it leads. Those two places, every time. So choose the problems that lead you to a fulfilling life and a longer life. Longer and higher quality life. So just a thought, ladies, just a thought. A problem can either defeat you or develop you. It can defeat you or develop you. Only two options. The option of sitting and complaining about the problem is not an option. That means it's defeating you already. Does that make sense? It can defeat you or develop you. What have you been doing? What have you been doing? If you've been looking at it negatively, if thinking of the problem puts you in a bad mindset, if you're complaining about it, how are you stating it, right? A well-stated problem is a half-solved problem. Let it develop you, not defeat you. And the first step in getting there is realizing there's no such thing as a solution without problems. And every problem from here on out, you get to choose to have or not. You get to choose to put meaning to or not. And that's the cool part. You chose your problems. How cool is that? You chose them. So why are you going to complain about them? Defeating or developing? That's where your mind needs to be. I need it to be black and white. You need to look at it as black and white. What am I doing right now? Probably defeating myself, right? With that one thing. There's always one thing that's on our mind, right? Whether it switches between different things, at one point in time, there's always something amplified on our mind, hyper-focused on our mind. Don't let that thing defeat you. Don't give it that power, right? Decide, and this is your homework. I want you to decide, out of all the problems that you could think of that you have right now, that you wish there was a magical solution for, all of your problems, ladies, decide which ones you want, which ones are a good sign, which ones that along the path to figuring it out will make you a better, stronger person. And identify those so that every time they come up, you can be humbled and remember, that's what I chose. The alternative, not an option. Even more hard and challenging and unhappy and painful. Okay, so that's your little homework I would love you all to do. Sit down, talk about your problems, list them down, and you circle the ones that you are choosing because they're going to make you a badass. All right? Awesome. And if you want to share it with me, share it with me. I would love to hear the problems you choose. I'd love you to just declare it. Declare it to the world. It is so freeing. These are my problems. I am choosing them and going through the process of learning how to deal with them and or solve them and or create and find, replace with new problems. That's the journey you choose. It's active problem solving throughout life, not passive problem solving. Passive problem solving is never, that's when things figure themselves out by themselves and you've developed nothing. You just got lucky or you ignored it long enough. Don't be that person. You don't feel good about yourself being that person. Every problem cripples you because you don't have the power over it. All right?